So you've come here for the truth. Well, we've got the truth and nothing but the truth. Here are your hosts, Robert A. Bianchi and David J. Bruno.
Welcome to WMTR's Nothing But the Truth with your host, Bob Bianchi and Dave Bruno, my law partner, on Saturdays at 10:30. Nothing But the Truth is a podcast about important people that we bring on and people that have done great things and their truth to their success, Dave.
Yeah, no, Bob, I mean, we missed you last week. We had Bill Hauser from the SMB Team, and I had the privilege and opportunity to interview him. I mean, kind of flip the script a little bit, right? Because Bill's been our coach for about a year now. And
one of our coaches.
Yeah, one of our coaches. Every Thursday, we have his coaching session. And it's not just law. It boils down to putting a business together, setting goals, have key performance indicators, etc. And I want to recap a little bit about what Bill said and some of the quotes that I took from it. And I'd like your take on it, Bob. So let's talk about the first quote, and we'll let Bill take it from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, that it ties into all of this filters up to Think and Grow Rich. In my viewpoint, you know, who not how is the power of the mastermind principle. I mean, it's the belief that if you want, most people, when they want to reach a goal, they ask themselves, how am I going to reach this goal? So for example, if you've been overweight for your entire life and finally make the commitment, I'm going to take my life to the next level. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to transform my body, right? And it hasn't worked all the way up to this point. Well, it's because you've been lying to yourself, trying to figure out the how. You've been diving into all these different exercise plans. You've been diving into all these tactics. And the truth is, you don't know what's best for you because you're not an expert in diet and exercise. So who not how is, instead of you trying to figure out all the hows for whatever you want to do in your life, find the who. Find the person who can just force feed you. And what's more importantly than force feeding is the accountability side, right? So for example, my who for health is Greg, my diet coach, who every single day, I'll show you actually in my phone, every single day I have to send him a picture of my screenshot of what I ate yesterday. Okay, so that was from today, 6:08 a.m. I sent him a screenshot of my MyFitnessPal tracked calories for Monday. No explanation. I don't need to explain. My actions should explain. My log should explain. I don't need to explain anything, right? He holds me accountable. That's a who. Okay. Another who is my group fitness classes that I do. I don't have to come up with workout plans. I have a coach hold me accountable when I work out and a group of 15 people that all push each other during the workouts. So there's this effect that they found in psychology called the group accountability effect. You are over 80% more likely to reach your goals if you tap into what's called the group accountability effect. It's a feeling where instead of you battling all alone to reach your goals, you tap into the most powerful process in our brain from prehistoric times, and that is the power of a social group that propels towards your goals, right? And that's another example of who. So anytime there's a problem in your life, I'm overweight, my business isn't growing the way it should be, I'm struggling with X, I'm blah, 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 blah. Always ask yourself, oh, wait a second, I'm getting trapped up in the how. Who else can I find to help me reach this goal?
All right, so Bob, in that quote, what Bill is talking about, he's talking about goals, which are very important to set, attainable goals and clear, measurable goals, but also having people to assist you in accomplishing the goal. Sometimes it's the who, not the how. And what I mean by that is like, you know, there are some things that, I mean, we're specialists in the law. We're criminal defense attorneys. We're former prosecutors, right? And the last thing that we all need to be doing is working on websites. right? The HTML and the WordPress and plugins, et cetera. We need people to accomplish goals. So I'm wondering, what's your take on really setting goals, attainable, measurable goals, and then also having people to assist in the who, not the how?
Yeah, I think this is a huge point. I mean, you have to have the goal. You have to know what it is that you want to do. And in the times of my life where I have felt that I've uncomfortable or just emotionally not in the right space, it's usually because I don't have the right goal set. So once that goal is set, the who is so important. If you think back even in our legal careers, and this applies to any business, it's who you're associating yourself with, who your mentors are, who your teachers are that are going to be able to pass on the wisdom to you, and then you take it and you make it your own from that point forward. What I noticed even from when I was prosecutor is that you kind of, when it comes down to the who, you have two kind of groups of people. There's a group that thinks, I know it all, and no one's going to tell me what to do, and that's a very difficult person to train. And then you have other people that want to surround themselves by excellence, and that's what I did as a young kid. By definition, my father was a great trial lawyer, so I was around the who. I had it laid up in my lap, and all of his friends and colleagues were similar, like-minded individuals, and they were all excellent at what they did. So I grew up in this milieu, this culture of just awesome people and coaches. But when I finally got out of law school, and I didn't have my father to be, I could bounce questions off him. When I went into the prosecutor's office, I identified who were the best trial lawyers in that office, and every opportunity I got, if they were on their feet, and I didn't even care if it was a trial or not a trial, I went there and I talked to them, and you usually find out that many people are willing to pass that knowledge on. So once you have the goal, that's the number one thing. You need to identify with who can bring you to that space that you respect. I think it's a very important principle concept.
Yeah, no, excellent. I mean, especially when we're talking about goal setting, I mean, I think it's one of the biggest transformations of the Bianchi Law Group over our scaling and the change of the philosophy here. Because as we went through COVID and we started taking the classes and we had the coaches and people to direct us into where we are now, we realized we really hadn't set financial goals. We hadn't had budgets. We didn't know how many leads we had coming in. And that was a huge 180 for us, because now we started setting like measurable goals, breaking it down into the 90-day quarterly marks, right? So it's important in this business, and what we're doing is every single 90 days, every quarter, we're reevaluating goals.
Right.
We're reevaluating what the revenue goal is and what the lead goals are, and the conversions for sales and operations has goals as well, right? So it's so important to set the goals, because if you don't have a target, you don't have a particular direction that you need to be moving in.
Yeah, I think what, as I've said to you a million times, you're probably tired of hearing it, the thing that was most impactful to me is the goal of operations, right?
Yeah.
And that they were able, by going to the right who, some of these business coaches, put us into a different mindset that there's no honor in people not having eyeballs on your law firm. Our lawyering skills are just the same, but I think our ability to deliver better results for more people has grown, and that was a goal we had. Yeah, it's financially valuable, and that's good too, but the service that we provide to people is so much greater because we have a better business picture, and so we're able to take those skills and service more people. And that was very powerful. That was a pivot point for me when I listened to our first business coach say that phrase, there's no honor in people not having eyeballs on your firm. And there's so much truth to it, because there's like 98,000 lawyers in New Jersey, and we could sit here as certified criminal trial lawyers, which is the highest distinction you can get for your skill set. But if people aren't seeing you and they don't know to call you, they're going to the better marketer. And that's what the guy said right afterwards. He said right to me, because I told him that comment meant something to me. He goes, they're going to the better marketer, not the better lawyer. And that's another big pivot change for us.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in essence, our ability to scale is really a community service. Why? Because now more people are getting our team, more people are getting represented by former prosecutors. And then you throw in the team approach that we offer as well with the morning huddles. And we've spoke about this on the show, and I'm a firm believer that as we add to the team, as we add to new experiences and new people to provide impact in the huddles, in the morning huddles, talking about all the cases, we continue to grow and get stronger, almost like a hurricane through the Gulf.
Yeah, but think about that huddle that we do, which was part of operations, right? We have these 7 parts of a business, and operations is key. And to make sure we have quality control, we have these huddles, right? But we're now the who for other attorneys that don't have as much experience as we do.
Sure.
So like I'm like their father now, if you will, passing on the knowledge and wisdom that we have. When they have an issue or a concern or a fear and they don't know how to do something, they don't have to just like muscle it out and try to, they've got a team every day they can talk to and dialogue about that. How like powerful is it? And by the way, I learned too, as things are changing in the courts or what have you, but how powerful is that to be able to have a team of us all going over everything so that you're getting the eclectic opinion of 5 and 6 people. That's part of the who, if you ask me.
Sure. I mean, look, you go to law school, you come out 3 years of law school and you're ready. You're an attorney. You have your license. Let's go. And you know what? That law school really didn't train you how to be a lawyer.
Oh, not by
a lawyer in the courtroom.
By far.
A lawyer how to cross-examine, maybe to how to read and identify issues in a brief or in a case or something like that. But look, these lawyers that we have here too, they continue to grow and they grow with us in the mornings, talking about our cases and developments of the law.
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing. We're talking about in the context of what we know. It's a bit the law firm.
Yeah.
But it could be the training coach, which I use personally, right? So I work out. I have a coach, motivates me, does different things, and keeps me active. I was just thinking about that on the way over here. What kind of shape would I be in, given the lifestyle and everything that we do and the long nights and whatever, if I didn't have that pocket? So I knew I needed to go to somebody who's a professional who can guide me and inspire me. This is another. I just think in anything in life, if it means that much to you that you're setting a goal, you should have your who.
Yeah, the second quote that I want to cover with you from Bill really is very similar in a theme. And he's talking about accountability and having accountability, either in a coach or a key performance indicator. Let's go to that quote and we'll talk a little bit on the other side.
I go around my office now, we're passing 40 full-time people right now. And like my highest value task is partially just making sure people know what they're responsible for. So there's one person on my team that right now, tomorrow, I'm just going to remind them, hey, you're responsible for X, not me. You're responsible for X and everything that has to do with X, right? And if you have a team of A players around you, they're going to love that clarity, right? And the same thing goes with if you want your family to work well, be clear about roles and responsibilities, right? Don't just vaguely say, so you take out the trash whenever you want, or maybe I'll take out the trash, and then no one takes out the trash because there's no clear roles and responsibilities. Same thing, running a house applies to running a business.
All right, Bob. So again, we're talking about accountability and their team members, and Bill is talking about having 40 full-time people on his team and really making sure that everyone's moving in the right direction and has expectations of what's expected of them.
Yeah, so this is one of my weak points. You've known me long enough to know that I'm a very hands-on person. So delegating work to people, I find myself jumping in, and that could be useful, but I've had to work on the idea, and we've done that in scaling this business and grown tremendously, that, this is your responsibility. You're accountable for these things. We have to give them the process to know how to do that, the training to know what to do. But in the end, I'm only managing, the phrase we like to use all the time. I'm working on the business, not in the business.
Sure.
But I can find myself often psychologically having to pull myself away from wanting to go in and just do it myself, to have it done the way that I think it should be done. It reminds me of a quote that one of our mutual friends in the prosecutor's office had when he said to me, Bob, you can't expect everybody to do the job or try a case the way you try a case, because I was blessed to have a very successful career as a trial lawyer. And that irritated me when I heard that. I'm like, but Rob, these are basic things that need to be done because it needs training, it needs whatever. Let's work on it. But I also realize that my expectations can't necessarily be the same expectations of every single person. If you're really great at what you do, it's hard to find people who are great because by definition, you're really good at it because you're exceptional and like yourself as a trial attorney. So you take your time And you try to make sure, nevertheless, that the people know that they're accountable for their tasks. And if they don't get done, we have to make sure that we have a monitoring process like we do in the office to make sure that task is measured. Big difference with me and my dad. When me and my dad practiced in a law firm, I wanted to measure, I wanted to monitor certain things with the attorneys, and he didn't. To come to find out when people would come or go and you would get their records or whatever, they really weren't working on the cases, which I don't think is good for the person, and it isn't good for the law firm. I think people like to be held accountable and know what it is that they need, the metric they need to hit.
Look, if there's going to be a delegation, and delegation is critical, right? Because we're all limited in time. One person can only do so much, even if they're pushing and burning the candle on both ends, or late nights and early mornings. There's only a finite period of time that we all have, right? And what we learned is we want to help as many people as we can to scale. You have to be able to delegate, and I think the first thing to a successful delegation is having clear expectations and guidelines
And vision. They need to know your vision.
Standard operating procedures, right? It needs to be clear as to what is expected of people that accept these delegation responsibilities.
I just want to add something.
Go ahead.
Vision is key for a leader, okay? That's what you're providing to people. So you have to let them know who you are. And we've learned from our coaches too, that process starts right from the beginning of the employment process. Right when you're looking for a position, to let them know, here's who we are, this is what we do, here's how we do it. Because if it's not a good fit for you, it's not going to be a good fit for us. And so this way you can call out. And if that person has that vision, it's more likely as you train them, they'll do what it is that you're looking to have done. This is WMTR. It's Nothing But the Truth. 10:30 on Saturdays. We're going to be right back. Please stay with us.
At the Bianchi Law Group, our team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and domestic violence cases. When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.
This is WMTR's Nothing But the Truth. Bob Bianchi and Dave Bruno. Welcome back. We were just talking about some principles that we learned from our business coaches, talking about the who, Dave, talking about the vision. We're learning all this stuff because, look, I'm not too old to ever learn. You're not either, and we will continue to learn. And we talked about vision. And, and when you're going through that employment process, or if you're an employee that's looking to be hired somewhere, it is so important to know what the company's vision is. So, Dave, you've been doing some unique stuff with that that I took a look at this week for some job postings, because we're constantly hiring here because we're growing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was an amazing thing that you did. And again, we learned from the who. We learned from a coach.
Yeah.
You took it. We were on the same call together. You took it, tweaked it, and modified it so it was ours. So it made more sense to us.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Holy cow, this is amazing!" Why don't you tell us, the audience, about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, right now we're scaling and we're hiring. And one of the things that we're looking to improve is intake. I mean, with the phone ringing the way it is, looking for the high-powered Bianchi Law Group to handle their criminal defense, domestic violence, and municipal court cases, we need the right people in the right seats on the front line, the compassionate individuals that could really, really help people in need. Even if we don't take the case, we want to be able to educate them and help them through the process.
But I know we're going to get to what you did, but I want to stop you when you say the compassion piece, because the first thing that we've always done, but I mean, now we have it like so crystallized on our mind, is, to me, the most important skill that I want to hear in the first part of an interview with somebody when we're really getting down to it is, what is your empathy level? Yeah. Okay, because we're dealing with people who are broken, mentally ill, addicted. People that have, many of whom have had otherwise great lives and have never done anything wrong, get themselves into a trouble that can be a life-altering consequence to it. So you could be the most skilled lawyer in the world, the best trial lawyer in the world, but most of our days are not filled with trying cases. That's a small percentage of the time as a lawyer. Most of our time is spent on trying to negotiate with prosecutors, come up with legal issues, work on plea agreements and whatever it may be, and prepare for trial as we're doing that. That's why we're successful, because we have that trial skill background. Mm-hmm. But I want a lawyer or everyone in my office to recognize that this is a human being that is suffering. And so we've interviewed a lot of people who are great lawyers and great staff people and good people. They're not bad people, but they just didn't have that level of empathy that we need, because this person's going through the worst time in their lives. Are you there to just kind of talk them off the ledge?
Sure. I think compassion, empathy are critical soft skills for the positions that we interview for. But I think it's universal in a sense that, look, we all need to find the right people in the right seats. And it's very difficult to do that. I mean, with this like very like draconian job recruiting process of posting a job and getting a resume and then individually interviewing everybody, it's a tedious, labor-intensive process, right? So what Bill and the SMB team presented to us, and we were lucky enough to get a Zoom with his recruiting manager and his COO, talked about they submitted to their applicants a vivid vision. And it's getting back to the vision that you just brought up, but it's a 5-year plan. It's really like elaborate thing that takes a tremendous amount of time to present to the applicants to then get them to comment on the vivid vision, right? So we thought, yeah, we want to hear from people. We want to hear videos. We want to hear them talk, especially in the intake role. So what we did is we tweaked it a little bit. We put the job posting out there, but also for everybody that applied that we wanted to hear from, we put instructions thereafter. And I went into one of our studios and I filmed a video and I told them exactly what the Bianchi Law Group is about, the core values of courage, compassion, commitment, and what we were looking for in our intake specialists. And I gave them very specific directions. I wanted them to email the resume, and I wanted a short video telling us why they think they're the right person for the job.
Well, let me just stop you right there. The first part that I love about that is, does this person have the desire and the ability to be able to carry that task out? Sure. I know it may sound minimal, but there are people that may not put their resume or don't put their video on. So that's great.
Well, in fact, we have received a couple emails with just resumes and then a couple emails with just videos. And I was very critical. In fact, I made it specific. Follow these directions specifically. So now we know, can they follow directions? Right. I mean, that's going to be critical in any position, follow directions. And then also the video. The video comes, and we were putting them into folders with the video and the resume, and we also have the DISC personality assessment that's also in that folder. And it just gave us an opportunity to hear from them first before putting all the labor into the interviews. And we were able to put it down, get it down to a smaller group for the next step. You know, and I don't know if you want to go into the group interview. That's another animal.
Well, I want to stop you at this piece. So you wanted me, you gave me a folder. You said, I want you to look at these videos. They were like 60, 90 seconds. Some went 2 minutes or whatever. But they were short. Yeah. And I was like, another thing to do, whatever. But I did it because you told me to do it. And I was like, wow, to watch one after the other. So this one was for the intake specialist. So I'm saying to myself, how does this person present themselves? This is the first person that's picking up a phone in the office. Are they professional sounding? What background do they have? What experiences do they have? Are they articulate? Are they, personable? All these things. And what I found in that experience, I think we had like 9 or 10, whatever the number was. We had a number that you had crystallized it down to. Was there were a number of them that I would immediately knock off on the intake side because they didn't have that kind of je ne sais quoi in the personality, but they had skills for other things that we could use, which I found interesting. But then me, you, and Robert rated, the interviews for the intake position, and we came basically to the same people. Yeah,
exactly. I love the fact that we could listen to them, because that's really the key component of the intake specialist. Listening to them. Are they showing the compassion that's required for the job? Did they follow the directions? I mean, it's awesome. And then the next step, we have a couple other steps in the recruitment process, but it goes back to that vision that you talked about, and the being accountable for things, is that the vision is critical to articulate so that they understand what we need and what type of person we're looking for.
For sure.
Yeah. So, and also the KPIs, and just to round out that conversation.
Key performance indicators.
It goes along with setting the goals. So let's just say you have a goal of 300 leads in a particular quarter. Well, the KPI, the key performance indicator, would be the 300. And then each week reviewing, how are you working towards the goal? What is it? Right. So the accountability goes with key performance indicators. Or else, if you don't set the goals, and you don't follow up on the goals and you don't measure the goals, then goals really mean nothing.
Yeah, the KPIs are really important, and we've done well, and our colleagues have recognized that. And it saddens me, and especially in the older generations or middle-aged people that are really, really good lawyers, and they're great people, and they got hit with COVID, and they're struggling, and it's all because they don't have the vision, the KPIs, the accountability aspects of things. And I realize how far we've come during the COVID period of time, because as now we're being kind of asked ourselves to coach people about how we did it, and we're more than willing to do that. And I have that sense in me, like, this is such a good lawyer, and yet there's only so many hours in the day, and there's only so many clients, and there's great marketers out there that are not anywhere near as good as an attorney as this particular person, but they're the ones getting the business. So if you don't have the KPIs, then you don't know whether or not you have a measurable way of making a determination if your processes and procedures are working. That's key.
It's not just law firms either.
Yeah.
I mean, we're very fortunate to have the law firm as a business, right? I mean, some people look at being a lawyer as, I am a lawyer. I handle criminal or personal injury or whatnot. And I think we've shifted the philosophy a little bit.
Well, I'm always uncomfortable with the word business, but it is a business, but it's also a profession. There's no question about it. But you've got to be able to get cases in order to have a viable business, have employees, hire additional people. We have a philosophy and a vision, and our lawyers and our staff knows what that is, and we're providing excellent and getting excellent results. So there's that tension where the old school will say, it's a profession, not a business. And yet they're complaining that they got to shut their doors because they don't have staff and they don't have money and they don't have clients. So if you don't have the business piece, you can't help people. That's what I try to get through the minds of people.
Yeah, sure. And when I say business, I don't mean strictly revenue generating for the purposes of business. I'm talking about a business that has systems in place and has accountable tracking key performance indicators and breaks down goals into 90 days. But I think in the end, it all works to providing a better service to our clients.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes it a better service to the clients and more clients for sure. But I laugh at the concept, like, well, when they say it's not a business, quote unquote, I'm saying business with a small b, maybe that's a good way to put it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, do you have a checking account? And do you have somebody on payroll, and do you write yourself checks, and do you do things like, well, you're a business. You may not be a well-functioning business, but you're the model of what a business is. So you pay taxes. You're called something LLC. I mean, it is a business recognized by the state. Sure. So it's a mindset which we also talk about shift.
And it's universal. It is not just law firms. Any entrepreneur out there that is running a business, I think, really has to reflect and take a look at their operations as well to see what type of key performance indicators and what type of goals and 90-day marks and staying on top of numbers. I think it's universal and it can apply everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that gets us back to the first question you asked, the who. Because you may not know what those key performance indicators are. And that's where you need a professional, a coach like we had, that set our sights towards, no, this may be what you want to look at. So it gives you some direction. That's why the who's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just Bill either. We have Andy and we have JT Fox, and we have a bunch of other mentors that helped us through this process and continue to help us. So we're grateful for all of them. Yeah,
like you said, mentors. I mean, it's another way, right? Coaches, mentors, it's all the same thing. Well, Dave, it was. I'm sorry I wasn't here with Bill because I know he probably did great, but thanks for asking me those questions, and I think it's so important to all businesses. And thank you all for listening to WMTR's Nothing But the Truth with your host, Bob Bianchi and Dave Bruno. We will be back next Saturday at 10:30 with an amazing guest, so we hope you can tune in.
And don't forget about the landing page for all our other interviews. We have the videos out there. We're on podcast in iTunes and Spotify. NothingButTheTruthPodcast.com, the one-stop shop for all that. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
We're the Bianchi Law Group, a team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys.
But here's the thing. He put himself in a box when he said...
Relied on by CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, law and crime, and news leaders across the country for our criminal defense
To get a
expertise.
search warrant, you have to have probable cause that a crime's been committed and there's evidence in a particular place.
When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.